Hello, everyone. My name's Rhonda R. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Rhonda.
My sobriety date is May 15th, 2008, and my home group is the Kingdom Belief Group in Rocky Mount, which a lot of y'all are familiar with. My home group is meeting tonight. We are also a Big Book study group. First 3 Tuesdays of the month, we study out about the textbook, Alcoholics Anonymous. We go from cover to cover. It takes us a little over 2 years. Fourth Tuesday, we study the tradition out of the 12 steps and 12 traditions that corresponds with the month. And when there's a fifth Tuesday, we study AA history. Our Friday night meetings from 7 to 8, same schedule as y'all. Our closed discussion meeting, where the chairperson for that month picks a topic out of AA-approved conference literature, and we discuss that topic. And then the last Friday of the month, which is this coming Friday, is our only open meeting. It's an open speaker meeting, and we have snacks and coffee. And since COVID, the church won't let us use the kitchen, so we all go out to eat afterwards, so we'd love to have you. Our speaker this month is someone that a lot of y'all are familiar with. Me and Carol were talking before that your nerves just sucks every bit of moisture out of your body, and then your mouth feels like glue. And then you drink all them fluids, and then other things want to happen. So anyway, I do sponsor women. I do have a sponsor, and I have a grand sponsor, and on down the line. I'm supposed to tell in a general way what I was like, what happened, and what I like to do. I'm from Winston-Salem, born and bred right here in good old North Carolina. I've spent my whole life here but 3 years. My grandparents raised me and my younger brother from the age of 3 to 5, my age of 3 to 8. My mom walked out of the picture, and the courts awarded me and my brother to my grandparents on the condition that when my dad remarried, he had to take us back home. My dad worked third shift for 27 years, and so he was there, but he wasn't there. And so I was raised in a deep, we're in the Bible Belt, and my grandparents was at church and took us every Sunday night, Wednesday night. I am so nervous. Probably because I know 2/3 of you in here. But anyway, I was raised in a church. I was raised with the brimstone and hellfire. You know, if you don't do right, you're going to go to hell. Because my mother walked away and my dad really wasn't in the picture, I had a lot of abandonment issues from a very young age. My dad started dating women, and he'd come by and see us. And he told me one night, I started crying and asked him not to leave. And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, I've already lost my mama. I don't want to lose my daddy, too." And so he started taking us along. And of course, I embarrassed him. I asked every woman he dated, "Are you going to be my new mom?" So he didn't get a whole lot of second dates. But he did remarry when I was 8 to a lady that had 2 daughters, one older, one younger, and so right before Christmas, we became a blended family. And talk about the black sheep, I felt like a black sheep from the get-go. Her kids, in my eyes, now, you know, we tell our story from our own personal view. In my eyes, her daughters could do no wrong. My brother was the only one to carry on the family name, so of course he could do no wrong. And then there was me. And, you know, I just didn't feel, fitting, and I wanted my mom. My dad left all the time. They went from Southern Baptist to Pentecostal, and so I got real confused on that. What is this speaking in tongues and rolling around on the floor? Is it not happening to me? Why is it happening to everybody else? I did get baptized at the age of probably 9 or 10. I don't think I knew what I was doing. I was just doing what everybody else was doing. You know, this is what you do. And I do remember saying that prayer, though, that they asked you to say, you know, inviting God into your heart. So I don't think I understood really the gravity of what I was doing. So I turned 16. Well, let me back up. At the age of 13, I think there's a switch in alcoholics that goes off at the age of 13. Because so many of us take our first drink at the age of 13. I took my first drink, I took my cigarettes, I started smoking the other stuff, and I found boys. You know, so go big or go home. I just did it all. And I don't think my parents were aware. I know my dad wasn't because he slept all the time. So at the age of 16, I was in trouble for something. I wasn't a good student in school. I didn't like school. That was probably why I was in trouble. My mother called. She's been out of my life for 13 years. I haven't talked to her. I never received a card, Christmas, birthday, or anything. And she had remarried, and she was living in Colorado. And she said, would you like to come out and spend the summer with me and get to know me? And I was like, yeah, you know, that sounds grand. So my dad agreed, and I got on a plane, and the airline stewardess said, no smoking? I'm like, no, I need smoking. You know, I'm 16, I think I'm grown. And I look at 16-year-olds now, and I'm thinking, oh man, you're just a baby, you know. And I was just a baby, but I thought I was grown. So I get to Colorado Springs. My stepdad was in the Air Force, so we were on the Air Force Academy. And I can remember asking my mom when she picked me up, I said, what are the rules? She says, there are none. You know, just do as, you know, we ask. She has no earthly idea what she just said. I have a half-sister that was about 4 or 5 years younger than me that was so excited to have a big sister to come along. And the last thing I wanted was a little sister running around with me. So most women in AA and that are alcoholics want the bad boy. They don't want the good old boys. My mom tried to set me up with a few cadets, and I was like, man, no, this ain't working. You know, so I went after the drug dealer is what I went after. My mom didn't like it from the get-go for good reason. And my dad was MP, so he's a police officer on the base, and in good orderly fashion, when they said I couldn't see him, he was 4 years older, so I'm 16, he's 20. I started sneaking out of the windows on base housing, and my mom went to check on me one night, and I was not in bed. She see the window open, and she called my stepdad, and let me tell you, you do not want the military police out looking for you. And, they didn't find me. My mother found me the next morning, passed out. I've been awakened very rudely over my drinking career. We were passed out. 1 minute I'm sleeping. Next minute somebody's got me by a head full of hair, jerking my head up, telling me I better better get my you-know-what back to the house, and, so that was not pretty. I was only in Colorado for like 3 months, and so, you know, they were just like, what have we gotten ourselves into? So we drove back to Winston. We had to go to court. My mom wanted custody of me, believe it or not. I later found out that she had told my dad when I was 3 that when Rhonda turned 16, I'm coming back for her. And so I don't know if she really wanted me or if she was wanting to get back at my dad. But anyway, she got me. We came back to Winston, went to court. The judge ordered that I had to stay in Winston-Salem. And my dad, the all-loving enabler, said, if you really want to go back to Colorado, you can go back to Colorado. Well, I didn't want to go back to Colorado to be with my mom. I wanted to go back to Colorado after that boy, which really wasn't a boy, but you know. So we went back following August. I am now 17. Against her will, she signed the papers for us to get married. She offered to put braces on me to keep me from getting married. And my teeth, I had a really bad overbite. I sucked my thumb up until the age of 13, and she was trying to buy out me getting married. You know, I put braces on you, and I'm like, no. So I got married in August, had my first son the following June. And then the following May, we decided to move back to North Carolina in a U-Haul truck. So we got our little car in the back of the U-Haul. We got a 10-month-old in a car seat. This is 1980. So I don't know if y'all remember those old enough what them car seats looked like, but they were like nothing they got today. And there he was crammed up in between us, and we drove from Colorado all the way back to Winston. I have a pattern, or did have a pattern, that after about 4 years, I was done with you. And I was so dry in about 4 years, financially, emotionally. I was just like a sponge. And so we got an apartment somewhere. I got pregnant again. I had my second son at the age of 20, and at the age of 21, I am now legal in North Carolina. I was legal in Colorado to drink beer. And then we got here and turned 21 and was legal to drink hard liquor. And who cares about kids anymore? Look, this is so hard to say, but it's the truth. And I know I am not the only mother or parent that chose alcohol and their lifestyle over their kids. And that's what I did. My thinking was they're better off with their dad and a roof over their head than they are with me, where I have no idea where I'm going, you know, where I'm sleeping tonight. So I took off to the closest bar and met a gentleman, and I say that in true fashion. He was a gentleman. He had a cousin that was looking for a nanny. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Now look, I just walked away from mine. And I'm like willing to take care of somebody else's. And I met this guy and his wife. I didn't meet his wife till later. Let me tell you, that was the wrong person to introduce me to. I fell head over heels with that married man and didn't care that he was married. And they hired me. I was live-in nanny. She worked second shift all the time. He worked swing shifts, so there were a lot of times that she wasn't there and we were there. And Nanny very soon became the mistress, and Rude Awakening 2. Wife came home looking for a husband, and Nanny, and she finds them upstairs in her bed, and neither one of them are awake or clothed. And one minute we were drinking and having a good time, and the next minute somebody had me by my ankles, jerking me out of that bed and telling me I didn't belong there no more. Off we go, down on the side of the road at a Motel 6. Told me if I wanted anybody, I could have a truck, or I couldn't have her husband. So, there's a lot more involved in that story, but I'll just keep it at that. So I went back to husband number one, went back to my husband. I had nowhere else to go, and that didn't last long. Same problems were there, and so I started the bar scene all over again, and over a course of about, that would have been about 4 or 5 years, I picked up, a couple other hitchhikers, that's what I called them. Some lasted a few months, but in 87 I picked up one, and probably 86 at a bar. There's some good food there, I'm just kidding, they are not. And I had my third son by him, I was 26. So I had 3 boys, and me and my husband, who I divorced. There's another game alcoholics seem to want to play. It's the phone game. You have the kids, and then when I get tired of them, or I get tired of paying you child support, we'll send them back. And so my 2 boys, my 2 oldest ones mainly, did not have a stable home either. They were bounced back and forth. There was 2 totally different rearing styles. Dad was the hardcore military, disciplinary, and I'm gonna parent you out of guilt. Disciplinary, which wasn't much discipline. So anyway, I had my third son by this next victim I have gotten a hold of, and little side note, alcohol was not my only problem. There's probably not a whole lot I haven't done or tried over the course of my career, as some of us call it, but I am going to stick to the alcohol. Anyway, got into criminal activity. And in 89, I was picked up and carted off to the lovely hotel on Bragg Street, North Carolina. That hotel is called Department of Corrections, North Carolina Correctional Center for Women Institute, or something like that. Bad enough. And so I went there. My mom came and took the youngest one to raise him, and my 2 older boys went back with their dad. So if you have not been to prison, I'm not talking about jail, I've been to so many jails, like 7 or 8 counties across North Carolina. Most of them are the same, maybe a little difference here and there, but prison takes forever to get checked in. They bring you in by groups, and they check you in by groups, and you get one of the best physicals. You cannot have a really good physical lately. You go to NCCIW, you'll get one. They want every fluid you can offer them to run tests on. And this is in 89. And my blood test came back. They called me up to the office, and they said, I was under the name Maya then. And they said, Miss Maya, your blood test shows that you have antibodies for for the HIV virus. Now, back in 1989, that was called AIDS, and that was a death sentence. You were going to die. There was just no way around it. I had 8 months sentence, and when you walked through the gates back then, that sentence got cut in half, so I only had to do 4 months. And you think news travels fast, you get on a camp with 2,500 women. And that news beat me back home. So I got released, and it was during the Count State Fair, I remember that. And they put me on the bus, and I went back to Winston, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be dead in about 5 years. Now, a normal person would like go to the doctor and take care of things, try to get their affairs lined up. I'm like, I am going to party until in the grave I go. So I got off that bus and I went to the payphone. I called somebody to bring me whatever it was I was interested at that time. And that's just the way my life was. 92, I found victim number 3, and I married him. I was a babysitter. I had my kids now, my 2 oldest ones. They were like 13 and 11. Those of you that know my oldest son, Jason, he's a white. Like, he is big. You know, he don't have no hair on top either. He is a big dude, you know, and I was working second shift in a convenience store, and I needed somebody to help raise them. And so I got my claws into this guy. Biggest mistake, he was just another kid, really. I mean, he had a good job, but he didn't do any discipline. They sat and played Tetris all day instead of doing homework. But anyway, 4 years into that marriage, we're going to move to Georgia. I'm running my own business. I've got a kennel and a cattery. And if you don't know what that is, you know, dogs are being bred. Backyard breeder is pretty much what I was, if truth be told. And then a cattery is the same thing, just cats. And so we were going to move to Georgia. And that's where his family was from. They was going to give us some land. And right idea came in. Call that cousin. Call that guy. Tell him you want to see those people one more time. So I did. I called him. I said, I just want to see the game one more time, you know, before I move away. Talk about the married man. And next thing I noticed, like 94, my phone rings and it's him. I about fell out. Y'all know me, very seldom am I speechless. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that him called me. He was at Carolina Beach. And I said, you want company? Now, I'm married. I'm supposed to be getting ready to be going to Georgia. And he said, yeah, come on down. So I got to scramble to come up with this story. I was a really good liar, too. So, husband number 2 who isn't too bright and like another kid. I'm working at Bojangles. My best friend is the manager of that Bojangles. I tell my husband, there's a convention going on at Carolina Beach, and I have to go. You know, and he's like, okay. So I packed my stuff, and I head to Carolina Beach. Got my first DUI. Going down, I got it in Pender County. Traveling with traffic. And all of a sudden, I see a state trooper go that way, lights on, I look around. I'm the only car on the highway. And I'm like, that must be for me. So I just pulled over, waited on him, and finished my beer. He's getting for speeding, but by the time he caught up to me, you know, there was a DUI added on to that. So anyway, I went to the jail, got locked up, had to get somebody to come bail me out. Anyway, that weekend convention, I kept calling back home, making up something. Turned into a 10-day stay at Carolina Beach with this married man. I mean, my second husband, he was just like, he just fell for it, you know. I would say, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Anyway, after about 10 days, I did come back home, and I packed my bags, and I moved in with the not married anymore married man. His wife got tired of his drinking, and she had walked off, and so he was down at the beach. He was a self-proclaimed alcoholic, and man, I thought I had arrived. This guy worked for a really good company. He was a master welder, so he made the money. I didn't have to work outside of the home. Partied every weekend. Well, really every day, but mainly on the weekends, and my alcoholism just took off like you know what. That was in 1996. Got my second DUI in 98, got my third one in 2001, and we just drank, and I became a round-the-clock drinker. My eyes was open, I was drinking. 3 a.m. was no different than 3 p.m. I had moved my kennel over there, not the cattery part, but I did move the kennel. And to tell you how arrogant I was, I would hire people to come out and do things, pour concrete, whatever it needed to be. And I'd be out there with my booze at 7 a.m. I'd have my liquor on one hand, the chaser on another. I had somebody ask me what was a chaser. Can you believe that? Like, you obviously don't drink. I was a two-fisted drinker. Never drank like the lady. I drank like the boys. Anyway, I had somewhere to go. If I didn't have somewhere to go, I thought I had somewhere to go. I was notorious for drinking and driving. Me and Forsyth County were on a first-name basis, and they would sit and wait for me. They knew my habits. I lived way out in the country. Closest store was probably 5 or 6 miles. Convenience store. They would sit on that road and wait for me. And Miss Reed, what are you doing driving again? And I'm like, it's too damn far to walk. They didn't find humor in that. Me and the COs in the county jail became very good friends too, because they saw me all the time. They would make bets on how long I'd be gone when I would get released. Be in there sometimes 24 hours, sometimes a weekend, sometimes a week. It was just however long it took to scramble up somebody to come get me out. Now I forgot where I was at. Anyway, that was up until 2001. That was the one that would call you at 3 a.m. in the morning and then try to talk to you at a decent hour in the morning and couldn't figure out why you were mad at me. Like I said, I always had somewhere to go, someone to see. They didn't know I was coming, and I rarely made it there. Those me and Forsyth County would inevitably have a date. And they were rough, you know. They really got into the handcuff scenario. And so anyway, I spent a lot of time in the county jails. It was a revolving door. I would be on the phone with you, talking, and just fall over. You know, on the bar stool at the aisle, and be up here sober, and then just fall off backwards, bam, to the floor. I would walk and just fall in the floor, because I would drink those jelly jar glasses. I would minutes. So about the time the fourth one went in, the first one was just coming on. And so I would literally be sober 1 minute and then just could not function the next minute, and that had been like a 45-minute period. Anyway, in 2005, on March 21st, that was it was the 20th. That was the Sunday. Me and we did get married, by the way, in 1998. And I woke up about 2 a.m. and he wasn't in the bed, and I was like, I know he ain't down there making a mess in my kitchen. First of all, it wasn't my kitchen. I mean, I lived there and we were married, but his name was on the deed. So I went to look for him, turned on the light at the top of the steps, and there he was at the bottom of the steps. And I thought, surely he is not that drunk that he couldn't even make it all the way down the steps. And he's deader than a doorknob. I was telling Teresa on the way up here, his feet were still on the second step. You know, he didn't even try to stumble or nothing. And this was like at 3 a.m. I'm in Panicville, on the phone with 911. And I can remember all I wanted was a drink. Can I drink? Can I drink? Can I take a drink? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, bring Valium, bring something. You do not know what's getting ready to happen. If you've never had that situation, it is a freaking zoo in your house. You have the paramedics, the sheriff's department. I had the crime scene investigators at my house. Unbeknownst to me, my in-laws had accused me of killing him. And that's another whole story, but that's what it boiled down to. And I gave up after that. I became so angry at the God that I barely knew. You know, like I said, I was baptized. I didn't have a relationship with God. The only time I talked to God was when I was getting arrested, or seeing the blue lights come on, or, you know, just get me out of this one again. And I just gave up. I gave up on living. I didn't know it at the time, but I went on the payment plan for suicide. I was drinking extremely heavy. Even worse than before, I dove into other substances even harder. And let's see, it was 05. That July 12th, I got my last DUI. And I went to court, and the judge said, his name was Judge Fine. I saw that man, we had a date. He didn't even know it. Man, we had dates all the time. I had the same judge every time I went to court over drinking or other, criminal activity. And he says, you're going to do, he's like, I'm giving you 16 months. I'm giving you 2 8-month box cars. But you're going to do 90 days active. I'm going to send you home on intensive probation and then 5 years regular probation. Now, if you don't know what intensive probation is, you can't leave your house. You're not supposed to leave your house after 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. You have 2 officers. You have one that come by your house and make sure you're where you're supposed to be. And you have another one downtown, at least in Winston. And they want you to produce a clean book every once in a while. And I don't think that field officer ever saw me sober. I just kept right on rolling, and he didn't seem to have a problem with it. The lady in the office, that's another story. She had a big problem with it. And I just couldn't abide it. But they never revoked me. They just let me keep on going. And so I got out. I had turned over power of attorney to my sister-in-law. And I didn't mention this, but the house me and the husband shared, she sold it, bought me a new house, and she said, do not go past that stop sign down there. I'm an alcoholic, I do other things, and what is behind that stop sign down there? Well, before that, I went and had every tooth in my head pulled, and they gave me a prescription for pain medicine. She said, don't get that pill. I got some liquid Percocet at home from where my son just had his tonsils took out. I said, okay, cool. And read the bottle or nothing. I just, and that set me right back off and running. Twice. The house me and my husband shared before I got arrested. And this house, who worried about paying the light bill, who needs water, 5-gallon buckets work just fine. I own these homes free and clear from the bank. I was drawing his pension, and I was drawing Social Security disability for my death sentence that I got like 13 years earlier. And it was 3-ring circus, no power, no water. I was Lowe's, food line right around the corner, had a dumpster. They threw away some really good stuff. Anything in the bakery that was getting ready to expire, in the dumpster it went. And I dumpster dived. I would drag back a big old trash bag full of stuff I pulled out of the dumpster until they padlocked it. They caught wind of what I was doing. And by then, who cared? I lost a lot of weight. I'm not even going to tell you how much I weigh now, but I was about 100 pounds lighter than I am right now. And so anyway, February 28th came around. I was released from intensive probation. I was like, I have beat the system, yay, yay, yay. My brother came by to visit me on April 15th of 2007. Like I said, I weighed 118 pounds. I was a walking stick figure. That's the way my brother described me. He said, Rhonda, if you turned sideways, we couldn't see you except for your head. You were just a walking head. Unbeknownst to me. He had connections with the judicial system, and when he saw me, he left and went to my PO and said, I don't know if you've seen my sister lately, but if you don't get her off the street in 48 hours, I'm going over your head because she's going to be dead. And the next morning I get up, Winston-Salem finest. You look like I had a yard sale going on. I didn't have nothing in the yard. I just had police cars, parked out in my driveway and in front of the house. And we played cat and mouse for about 2 days. They were waiting on me to come out, and I was waiting on them to leave because people don't bring me stuff when the police are parked out. So I gave up. On April 17th, I just gave up. And I walked out the door and I couldn't let them take me. And right back in the county jail I went. My oldest grandson was born shortly after that. And went back before a Judge Fine, and he said, I told you. I don't want you to come back before me. I'm revoking everything. You're going to finish that sentence. You're going to do that 13 months. And you are, off you go. And so the latter part of May, I was shipped back off to Raleigh. And I can remember getting there. Look, they don't care what time you arrive. They don't care what time you get to your bunk. At 4 a.m., that whistle is blowing. And that whistle means you need to get out of bed, get your bunk made, and line up for chow. Now, I don't know what y'all call chow. What they served was unrecognizable. But I can remember laying in that, laying on that bunk about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, how did I end up back here? Like, none of this stuff connected. I was like, 17 years later, how did I end up back here? Now, I was like 44, 45 years old. And there I was for 13 months, 2,500 women. It is, y'all think one woman's hard to take care of? How do you keep up with 2,500 of them? It was a zoo, it's a madhouse. There are all kinds of things going on. Of course, I get the same lovely physical, nothing's really changed. And I was there about 3 months, I reckon. And I just said, God, I can't do this. I cannot stay here for another 10 months. I said, I need help. Can you send me somewhere? Well, I heard about this place called the Mary Frances Center on camp. It was a treatment facility contracted with the Department of Corrections in Tarboro. It was the only one of its kind in the United States. If you had less than 2 years left on your sentence, and you had a bad enough problem, you could go there and finish your sentence out. And so I went to bed one night, and at 2 a.m. they were waking up, having bags, you're moving. I said, where am I going to? And they're like, Rocky Mount, you're going to Fountain Correctional. Fountain Correctional, which is no longer here, was the sister camp, or rather Mary Frances was a sister camp to Fountain. So I got to Fountain, I went to the Mary Frances Center, and it was like Wizard of Oz. Well, that was the thing that whole treatment center was based on, was the Wizard of Oz, but I mean, it was like stepping into a whole nother world. You had a real bed, like a real twin bed, not army barracks. You had an armoire, you had an end table. You were immersed into the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had group therapy, I had individual therapy, I had what they called cognitive behavior intervention, which was supposed to help change the way I think. I think it did some good, really. They were on the dot system. When you got there, you had no dot. After you've been there a little bit and kind of got a group of things, you could get a yellow dot, which allowed you to go to canteen and have visitors. And they had a blue dot. You could do work release, and a red dot. You could do home visits. I could not keep my yellow dot. We don't work forever. My counselor, Miss Snyder, I love that woman to death, was constantly walking and just ripping my dot off of me. And I'm like, what's going on? And they would explain. Anyway, I made it. And I did 270 days there, 9 months. And when I got released, I wanted to go back to Winston-Salem. And my dad said, you're not coming back. You come back, we are not helping you. You are on your own. You have no business back in Winston-Salem. And so my aunt and uncle had been coming up to visit me, and they set me up in an apartment. And I got out on May 10th. My aunt and uncle picked me up from Fountain on May 10th. They stayed with me the 11th and 12th. On the 12th, my dad and his girlfriend changed into the guards, that's what I call it. And they were there with me on the 13th, 12th and 13th. And the next day was my birthday, and my dad gave me some money for my birthday. I think I was turning 46. And it was 47. He was getting on up there. And they left, and here comes good old, my friend, alcoholism. town where you don't know nobody. It's your birthday tomorrow. You don't have nobody to celebrate. It's first one out of jail in I don't know how many years. You know, what are you going to do? Your family's left you. You don't have any friends. You know, and I said, yeah, that would be good. It's my birthday, you know, so I called a cab, had him take me to the liquor store, and bought a half a gallon of that good old vodka us alcoholics seem to like. I got one drink of that. It went down, it came right back up. And I went into Panicville. You talking about how fast insanity can set in? For 3 days, I hid that half a gallon of vodka in my house. Kept changing my hiding spots. In the freezer, in the laundry, in the toilet tank. I'm not giving anybody any ideas. Scared to death, somebody didn't know me was going to come by and find out I was drinking. Because the people at Mary Frances said I'd never make it. You know, and I'd been to outside meetings in Tarboro, so I called one of those ladies and I said, on the 15th, I woke up, this voice said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You were just gone for 13 months, 9 months. You were given the tools. What are you doing? You know, you want to go back for 8 to 10 years? Well, that's what Judge Finder told me. He's going to get me as a habitual. And call somebody. So I called this lady. She's no longer with us anymore. She picked me up. Now, I'm not telling anybody I drank. Because nobody is going to know that my counselor, the CEO, and all these people at the Mary Frances Center was right. That I would drink again. And it was only one drink, but my intentions was I was going to drink that whole half a gallon. And I was going to roll right in on my birthday. And for 5 years, actually 4 years, I carried that lie around with me. I spoke from the podium and told that lie. And it about drove me crazy. And I kid you not, so crazy. My sponsor, Amy, thought it was because of the shows I was watching. I was watching Dateline, and I was watching, you know, all these crime shows, and she said I was calling her and telling her they were coming to get me, and so she put me on TV band, and believe it or not, I abided by that TV band. I didn't watch none of those shows. I gotta hurry up here. So I go on a retreat every September. The first one was in 2011. It's at Medoc Mountain. It's the third weekend in September, and we do like the forefathers. We go through them first. We go through them 12 steps in a weekend. We start on Friday morning, and we end up about lunchtime. And in 2012, Kathy Kane, many of y'all knew her. She was my tent mate. And I woke up on Saturday morning, we were going to do the 5 steps. I don't know what happened, but I just told her I drank. She's like, what do you mean you drank? And so I told her, and she's like, well, I won't tell nobody. Well, I told somebody. You know, when we did the 5th step, I told Amy. And the look on her face, she's like, oh my God, that explains so much. I told her what to do. Is that a relapse? So she calls Susie Donahue into the picture. And you know, Susie Donahue, she is not one to play with. I mean, she loves you. She's about that tall. And she don't play with that mess. And so she considered it a relapse because of what my thought process was, my intentions was. She's like, the amount you drink doesn't matter, it's what your thought process is. So I had to make amends to everybody there. Had to go back to every group I'd ever told my story to and made amends to them. So my sobriety date, real sobriety date, is May 15th, 2008. I was telling people it was April 17th, 2007. I had to get back a year's worth of medallion That about killed me. He said, give me that 5-year medallion back. Handed me a 4-year. I wouldn't trade that away for nothing. Today, life is good. My license were supposedly suspended for life. I wasn't supposed to ever get a driver's license again. I got my driver's license back in 2009. I bought a home on my own record in 2010. I was able in 2014 to reconnect with my mother for the second time because we were just like oil and water. I mean, it was just a nightmare. And she died in March of 19, so the last 5 years she was alive. I was able to be of service to her. Since 2019, I lost my mother. I lost a grandbaby that wasn't quite ready to be born yet. I lost my brother, the one that saved my life in 2020, and never thought about taking a drink. I do sponsor women. I can drag women that I don't even sponsor around with me. Come on, you know. And I brought one with me tonight. You know, she's new to the area, and I said, come on. Or ask her, do you want to go? Tell her, I just asked her if she wanted to go, and she's like, yeah. So life is good. I don't panic when the blue light comes on. I haven't had a ticket. I haven't been arrested. It's amazing. You abide by the laws and you won't get arrested. I have true friends. I can be honest today. Amy says I'm overly honest. She's like, you're too blunt. I don't know. Being a liar. So anyway, I've taken up too much of your time. Lori, when you called that morning then, my significant other now had just came in from a weekend at my dad's. And one of my beloved pets had passed away, and that's what we walked into. And then you called and got me out of my head. And, you know, so I think that was a God wink, like, let's get you focused on something else and, you know, not what has happened. So I appreciate you doing that, and appreciate him even more for putting that in your head. So thank you, everyone.